Throughout the general election, Labour dodged questions on its immigration plans with greater skill than a Spanish matador trying to avoid the horns of the bull. And now we know why. The Home Secretary today announced that up to 120,000 illegal migrants in the UK will be allowed to have their claims processed. The announcement means that 70,000 or more of these illegal migrants could be granted asylum and allowed to stay permanently in the United Kingdom, piling further pressure on public services. We now have no plan, no response, no disincentives to the flotilla of small boats crossing the Channel. As people traffickers ferry migrants either to a watery grave or our beaches, Labour must stop betraying its promises to the British people and act on this issue. Well, discuss the announcement, I'm joined now by my most pugnacious panel who have put on their metaphorical boxing gloves, the former editor of The Sun representing Muhammad Ali, and the PR consultant and former Labour aide, Stella Tsantekidou, who's representing another boxer, Mike Tyson. So let me go to Stella first. They've basically given in, haven't they? They've raised the white flag. Come on over, hover over to Dover.
No, I think that what they've done is that they have exposed what was the Conservative plan all along, which is quite genius, I have to say. So the Conservative plan for tackling illegal immigration and asylum seekers was, we are going to spend so much money on a completely unfeasible plan. We are going to spend 25 million on the BB Stockholm and an extra 10 billion over the next decade on the Rwanda plan, so that we completely impoverish the UK and our public services, so that nobody wants to come here. It's a really good plan, actually.
Well, but now everybody can come and it's a free-for-all. And if you manage to get here, it's basically you've reached safety, you've got to Dover, you're fine, we're never going to get rid of you. It is the white flag.
So the Conservative plan was to keep the backlog, to basically continue having these people on the BB Stockholm until maybe the next leader takes over. I think that was actually by the time that they realized that they're not going to be in power for much, much longer. The thing is with asylum seekers, you have to process their applications. What are you going to do?
You have to expel them, don't you?
But if they're asylum seekers, you have to process the application to see whether they are genuine refugees or not, right?
Right, so here's the issue then. 120,000, I think the Refugee Council said that 70,000, and I think Cleverly said 90,000. Well, I looked up before I came here. 70 and 80,000 represents a town the size of Guildford or a town the size of Redditch. Actually, for you, Stella, I even worked out one in Greece. It's the equivalent of a place called Volos.
Oh, lovely. Very nice
right.
town.
Well, that's the equivalent, right? 70,000 is the equivalent of Volos. So my issue is this. If I am a refugee seeker, I don't know why they should be courted like that. Why don't we talk about what they might well be, which is economic migrants, right? I'm going to now read or see online, or I'm going to hear from somebody, a smuggler probably. Actually, honestly, there has been an amnesty there. Come on over, right? And you'll be fine. Everything will be fine. I mean, when we raise the issue, and it's not a bad issue, about living in hotels, that's fine. I recognise that. Massively expensive, totally mad, right? What are we going to do now? What's going to happen to those 70 or 80,000? Where are all the flats and the social housing? None of this exists now. And where are these people going to live? And who is going to fund their rents and their food and their jobs and that kind of stuff? I mean, honestly, I fear for what this signals the next 5 years of Labour rule may be.
Kelvin, you are so much older than me, and you still have not realised the world you live in, where there is such a thing as a refugee convention that the UK has
We
signed.
shouldn't be part of it.
I'm afraid that you
hold on,
to.
Stella, hold on. Under the Refugee Convention, you should stay in your first safe country, and we are not the first safe country. Therefore, we don't have an obligation to them.
Right. Okay. So, do you think that people who have families here, for example, do you think they should be allowed to come?
If people come here illegally, they should not be allowed to bring their families.
But if you are an asylum seeker and you have an actual claim to be a refugee,
if you've come here illegally, you're not allowed to claim asylum. We changed the law.
You think the courts are wrong then?
I think Parliament is right. The Supreme Court, the High Court of Parliament, is our ultimate authority.
So are the courts wrong? Are you saying that the courts are wrong?
I would pull out of the European Convention on Human Rights, which I think leads to constitutional martyrdom.
Stella, can I ask you something, though? Look, we've got 70, 80,000 people. Actually, they're saying that 50,000 of them will go back to, quote, safe countries, which is Vietnam, India. I think there's somewhere else. I can't remember what the third country is. Right? Are Vietnam going to take back, I don't know, 10 or 15,000 people? I mean, I am Modi. You're what? You're going to send back, with all the poverty that we have, you're going to send these people back? How are you going to do that, by the way? You're going to fly? Are we literally going to have 30 or 50,000 people being flown out of our country over there? I just don't see these safe nations taking it. So I'm working on the assumption that we're going to have 120,000. So we're going to have, 2.5 Guildfords. It is an impossible world that we have to deal with. You and I differ. You don't mind the influx of these refugee seekers?
I do mind.
But I do mind.
I do mind, actually. I do mind the influx of refugees. I do not think there is infinite space here in the UK for infinite number of people from everywhere in the world. If everyone who wants to come here came here, I'm telling you, it would be a lot more people. But here...
we're going to have to finish there, but just to give you context, I think we're talking about up to a little bit over 200 times the size of West Harptree. In other